Hey everyone, welcome to the stream. There's only one other player on here in a BF109K4. I'm going to use the radar to see if I can track him down. So it's just me versus one other on this vast Normandy map. I'm going to see if I can track him down using the radar and shoot him down. The engine settings for this plane. Southeast max low, southeast max low, southeast southeast. It's interesting they give you two results even though there's only one plane. And do I know where my runway is? No, I don't have a clue. We got the sea there. Must be over there. Let's do this. What the freak happened there? Ah, great. My rudder doesn't work anymore. My rudder doesn't work anymore. That's what happened there. Why? Why doesn't my rudder work anymore? I didn't change it for this game and now so... Oh, I know why. I just did an update and now my rudder doesn't work anymore. Welcome to DCS, everyone. It's like a fundamental thing. You do an update in this game and then nothing works anymore. It's freaking ridiculous. Ridiculous. Can't they fix that? Uh, did it get damaged in the crash? Why isn't it working? What the frick? Ah! Man, I didn't want a Spitfire. And I didn't want a Recon either. Why does it say Recon? Recon planes don't usually have any guns, so I don't really want a recon plane. Right, that rudder's working. It's definitely working. Elevator's working. Aileron's working. Shoot, man. Yeah, gun's working. Alright, next question is, where's the runway? What the heck? What the freaking heck was that? It's like the parking brake just went on or something. Alright. Whatevs. So, like, the rudder didn't work. It's working without the elevator, the throttle, yeah. About the trim. Yeah, trim's working. Pitch is working. It seems like that the startup procedure finalized by applying a handbrake or something. That's what it seems like. Put in the description, just ignore the first bloody 15 minutes of this bloody stream because it's just total BS. Throttle back to idle, release parking brakes. What the f... east heading northeast and south heading north. Easy. He's out to sea. Adjusting the prop pitch on this is a real hassle. The instrument, when you keybind it, is not sensitive enough. And then you got to try and grab it and get it down to 2600. I think that's what I'm after. 2600 and 46 manifold. Let's test out the guns. Where's the frickin'... It's on. And it's on. So why... Where's my frickin' sight? Oh yeah, I gotta turn the guns on. You go through these problems when there's some problem, like the frickin' rudder doesn't start, it throws out your whole startup procedure. Test the guns. Yep. Alright, we're gonna head south. Heading south, the enemy's in the south, but they're heading north. So this was intended to be an experiment, not in bloody rudder assignment, but it was intended to be an experiment in, I'm going to follow the radar. Can the radar direct me to the one and only plane on the map? So that's the interesting idea behind this stream. Good, huh? Quite funny, I'm heading out to sea. Are they in England? No, you can't get to England by going south. England's in the west? Temperature's pretty bloody high. Supposed to have an automatic radiator though. Give me another radar. Now the radar didn't lie last time like it worked, so I think it's going to work this time as well. The radar speaks the truth. That's why I think I can probably use the radar, even though there's one opponent on this map in total, to find them. Let me also check the thing and see if there's any more players on here. I think there might be, as per the last radar message. Yeah, no, there's still 1 versus 1. Head for that cloud. Southeast max, low. Southeast. That's over that way. maximum range and low. I think he's in England and he's heading southeast. That's not good. He's changing direction, so I'll go southeast now, which is going to be 135. I have a feeling he's in England. One thing, I don't know how much fuel's on board this plane. I guess I could look at the fuel gauges, but you know, like when you start, do you have to adjust the fuel down? Do you start off default with maximum fuel? Because I don't think you do, but if you do, that would really suck. You probably start off with 50% fuel or something. Since he's at max range, I'm going to let the plane climb a bit, because this plane will be better at higher altitude in terms of speed over the ground. But you don't want to climb too steeply or else you'll lose your speed. The name of this game is Dance Dance Revolution on the Nintendo Entertainment System. If I can get up to about 5,000 feet, the plane will literally go faster over the ground than it is currently. Man, it's just I get asked that one question about flight sims that I'm flying like 20 times per second, so I come up with creative answers for it now. You're gonna get it. Well, all I can say is you better be good at dancing. There we go. There we go. So I'm looking for 135. I'm going 120, a little bit off course. For another radar update as well. Whoa, that's too much. 140. I bet just as I get to this guy, he's going to unspawn and finish flying, because he was on here for a long time before me. He had to wait for me to take off because I crashed 3 times. Not my fault. And then here we are. I'm literally flying to England. I'm going from France to England. You can see England on the coast over there. That is England. Range max, southeast and south. Why does it give 2 results? Type unknown. Am I looking at B17s? Am I looking at B17s in the circuit pattern? Type unknown. Southeast max low. South max medium. There's two different ones. What the devil? I'll just keep going south, I guess. We've still got one other player on here. I don't know what to do because I'm going 135, that's fine. There's one out there somewhere, and there's also one at 180. So which one do I bloody choose? Oh well, I'll wait till I get to England and then I'll figure it out. I could fly in between the two of them. If it's 135 and 180, I'll go 155 and then, you know what I mean? And then 160. I'll go 160 and then I'll just see which one's closer. Know what I'm saying? Switch me tank over now and then. Bloody stop me plane from getting lopsided and stop me from running out of fuel with hundreds of gallons on board. Man, hurry up. Why is he in England? He's in a 109 and he's in England. He's looking for maybe he's looking for the B-17s. Where there must be an area where they take off. He's looking to attack them on the ground. How can you be flying south to England? Yeah, that's a good point. Because it would be west, wouldn't it? Yeah. So, well, where is it then? It seems like I'm flying across the channel. Unless I started off in England. Maybe I started... No, I started off in England. I started off in Funtington. Why on earth did I do that? Bloody hell. Man, I started off here at Funtington here. Ah, what a... That explains that. Oh well, it's just extra authentic. Ha 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 ha. Good morning. Must be flying to France, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have to... I don't recommend you watch the beginning of the stream because it's a shit fight, but basically the beginning of the stream had a lot of problems. South max, southeast max, medium low. And so I originally was at an airfield in France but there were problems there with the aircraft. The rudder wasn't working. The startup sequence put the parking brake on. There were two different attempts to get going that failed. And then the third one, I was like, I don't want to fly a recon plane. I want to try a different airfield where I'm not a recon plane. You see, recon planes, maybe not in this sim, but in real life, if you're flying a recon plane, you don't have any freaking guns. Recon planes don't have guns. Do you know what they have? They have a camera. Recon planes, reconnaissance planes, they have a big ass camera poking out the side and poking down, straight down, and they don't have any guns. So this, I mean, chances are it's just called a recon plane in the game, but actually it's just a standard Mustang with its own guns. But I couldn't take that chance, so I thought, right, I'll take off from a different airfield where it doesn't say it's a recon plane. And that was in England. See planes on the horizon there. No, I can't. Those are balloons. Those are balloons. Here's France on the horizon. I wonder if you were in Napoleon's time and you were in France, and remember Napoleon wasn't even French, okay? If you were like a farmer, I hesitate to say peasant, but like, you know, you're a farmer, and Napoleon's army rolls up and says, hey man, you've got to come and join the Grand Army. We're going to go on all these adventures and stuff. What if you just went, I'm good. If you just went, I'm good. I'm gonna stay at the white picket fence of the front of my farm. I'm gonna make fine wines. I'm gonna make pungent cheeses with exotic strands of mold in them that enhance your whole thing and everything. And I'm just gonna like live this life and everything. What would be the consequence for that? Would you be able to get away with that? I have a feeling that they'd kind of conscript you into the Grand Army. I don't think you'd have a choice, so to speak. That would really suck. Pictures of the Wehrmacht sunning under French trees. France was the gig to be at if you were a Wehrmacht, and I think there would have been plenty of Wehrmachts in Paris trying to justify their job being there, and they always would have had the fear in the back of their minds, oh shit, what if they kick me out of here back to the Eastern Front? Eastern Front or Paris, which would you prefer? My answer is actually neither. I wouldn't prefer either. I'd prefer to be sunning myself on a tropical island somewhere far away from all the craziness. But it makes for a good video game. Let me have a sip of coffee right here. Oh yeah. Alright, where's that radar? I've given up looking at the compass. I don't care. I think it's down this way. Southeast. Southeast max medium. Alright. So, well, I was going southeast. That's 135. I'm going in the right direction. Here, we got the full moon up here. You know, it actually is a full moon. If I look out the window right now, there's a massive full moon. A huge moon. You would think that we would have gone back to the moon probably once every fortnight since 1965 or whatever, but we haven't been back once. It's very curious. Man, this is just kind of tedious, isn't it? I could do with some camembert cheese and some bloody Cabernet Sauvignon right now. I could do with some Roquefort cheese, some camembert cheese, some brie cheese, some, it's not France, but some Gouda cheese. It's Italy, I think, but I could do some Gorgonzola cheese and some Cabernet Sauvignon right now. I could do with some bloody, some bread, baguette, some bloody creme brulee, some, coq au vin, you know, coq. I can't say it with the real coq au vin. Coq au vin. What is that? It's like a soup. It's a chicken soup, is all it is. Coq au vin, chicken soup. Coq au vin, chicken soup. We can do some coq au vin. What's the one, the seafood soup? Bloody, what's the seafood soup? I can't remember, but there's a seafood soup that is pretty fantastic. Oh, I could do with some foie gras. Foie gras. It's like a goose liver pate, is it not? Or duck liver. Foie gras. This cheese stinks. English cheddar better. Well, ain't nothing wrong with cheddar. I mean, but, you know, like, you got to embrace the pungency. All of these foods, they're kind of living foods, like the cheese has a certain kind of a mold in it. The cheese, those blue vein cheeses, they have a certain kind of a mold in them that is, like, as far as I understand, there's good molds and there's bad molds, and the moldy cheese is, like, man, you gotta understand, they've been eating these cheeses since the frickin' Lascaux caves days. Like, you know those caves they discovered in France that have buffalo painted on the walls? They're like, you know, frickin' 15,000 years old. Back then they were eating blue vein cheese. You know what I'm saying? They've been eating it since then. Really good stuff. Stood the test of time more than anything. And it's, dare I say it, it's good for you. But yeah, bad mold, good mold. This is obviously the good mold. But yeah, it does smell. But it smells good, right? You're not a fan of it? It smells like socks, sweaty socks. Yeah. I guess it depends where you draw the line. Like, some people won't do Parmesan. Parmesan's fairly pungent. But slightly less. Hey, what have we got? Southeast Max. He's getting further away, freaking hell. Well, we're on track. This is turning into a craptacular wild goose chase. Hopefully there's some foie gras at the end of it. Yeah, a slightly more mellow version of Parmesan, in my estimation, is 2 to 3 times better. 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 Grana Padana. I'm probably saying it wrong, but I know what it is. It's this cheese and everything. It's a milk cheese. Yeah, all cheese is made of milk, but it's like somehow they call it a milk cheese. I don't know the distinction, but Grana Padana is a pretty decent cheese. You can kind of shave it. It's a hard cheese. It's the grana. It's like granulated. It's almost like chalk. Making it sound appetizing, aren't I? But Grana Padana slightly less pungent than Parmesan. They say the moon is made of cheese, but no one's ever figured out which one. I assume Swiss cheese, but I'm probably going to give up on this flight in about 10 minutes if the radar doesn't get us any closer. But I've come this far, you see, so... That seafood soup is called bully bass. Bully base. It's pretty decent. It's got like shellfish in it, obviously fish, probably some herbs and stuff, spices. Bully base. I think a lot of the delicacies of yesteryear are based around the concept of no refrigeration and medium to long-term storage. So you have your kind of meats that are like the salamis and that kind of thing. You got your cheese, which is just a way of storing milk, is all it is. If you have to go on a walk for 2 weeks and there's no cow that you can milk, well, you can make a wheel of cheese and there's your milk. It's not going to go off and you can drink it 2 weeks into the future or what have you. Same deal with butter, same deal with yogurt. All of them are tried and true ways of storing food, dairy food that would normally go off and become impossible to eat safely, storing them over long periods of time. And same with the small goods, the salami, etc. Probably ham as well, I would say. So if you don't have a fridge, think cheese, yogurt, butter. Butter keeps for a while. Salami. And wine. Lots of wine. Or maybe champagne. There's a region of France, maybe not here, I think it's in the north, called Champagne. Like the district or whatever's called Champagne. And of course that's where champagne comes from. Need another radar message now. Yeah, buoy base. If it swims, crawls or slides, it goes in a stew. Yeah, that's it. Another thing is a lot of these things were kind of like poor person's food, but at some point they became like Michelin star restaurant food. Same goes with the Mediterraneans, I think, particularly the Greeks, and octopus, squid, etc. And maybe eels too. Eels in rivers. What do we got? South Max. This is BS man. He's in the south and he's heading south. So I guess I'll turn south now. rudder's a bit twitchy. Ah, I know what's going on. So I just did an update, and not only did the update stop my rudder from working, which I had to re-establish, it's probably also wiped out all of my S-curves. Great. They really ought to fix this feature of DCS. It's totally ridiculous and unnecessary. I'm going to check out my S-curves. I take it back. That one is good. That's the pitch. What about the rudder? What the heck, man? Aha, the rudder needs fixing. That's better. Alright. Are we still going south? Pretty twitchy. I probably would draw the line at some French foods. For example, I wouldn't eat frog's legs because that would be cannibalism, and I probably wouldn't eat their snails either. Snails tend to be a bit too slimy for my situation, you know. Shoot, the other guy has landed. No, hang on. Yeah, he's landed. I guess that's the end of that experiment. I think there would have been an opportunity to intercept him if there weren't so many stuff-ups in the beginning. Literally took about 15 minutes to get going. I'll wait for the next radar message, assuming there is one. Easy does it. Just going to land, and then I'll end this particular stream, and then I'll go and do an IL-2 stream. I also checked out the Cold War server. It had like 2 players on it, and one of them was a plane and the other one was like server, which basically means 1 player, so that's not viable. So Napoleon's army, like the Grand Army that went into Russia during the winter with not enough food, what was the size of that army? I think it was a pretty big army. I think we're talking 600,000 men in the Le Grand Army. How many made it back? How many made it back? I'm thinking, I don't actually know, but I'm thinking probably a quarter, or like 150,000 maybe. They just had to make it back to Poland, I believe. Not all the way back to France. They could rest up at Poland. And I believe Napoleon just kind of left the party. Like, I think, so Napoleon made it back. So Napoleon goes through the snow, and then the army runs out of food and everything. And then it starts retreating, and Napoleon gets out of there and goes back to France, I guess. And I think before that or after that, Napoleon raised a grand army and went off to Egypt and had a fight there, and either won or lost. But at some point, the same thing happened. Napoleon left his men in either Egypt or North Africa, and then effed off back to wherever. Did he go to Corsica, or probably back to Paris, I guess? I have to emphasize, Napoleon was not French. So that's twice that Napoleon started some shit and then left his men when the going got tough and effed off back to the good life. I gotta say, that's not really very good, is it? Where's the bloody runway? Especially if there was conscription involved, because I don't think the grand armies were entirely voluntary. I think a lot of those soldiers were basically told, you have to join the grand army or else. Mandatory. Ah. Napoleon says so. Oh, well then, if Napoleon says so, guess I'm in the Grand Army. Then you end up in the desert with no water, or in the snow with no food. Thanks, Napoleon. You did a great job. Is that an airfield? And then there was Waterloo. I don't know if that's an airfield or not. Go down and shoot up a few horse carts. That's the thing, the landscape lacks motion, in my opinion. They might have done that on the server to free up the frame rate. Because I think in single player I can recall some vehicles moving around. Like cars and stuff. Is this a campaign? This is the Grand Army campaign of Boredom 2021. I gotta find somewhere to land. I think Napoleon had a string of amazing victories before he started failing hard. You know how it goes. Quite a forest there. It'd be good to own your own forest in Normandy, and there's pheasants on there, and you can go pheasant hunting in the forest, and then you can eat the pheasant with some cab sav. Wasn't it? Napoleon was definitely, I haven't really studied Napoleon history much. I've just, like, a few things stood out to me. Like, isn't it that Napoleon's soldiers at one point shot the nose off the Sphinx with a cannon? So they're obviously there for some reason. And I think they initially won and had a victory, and then after a while I think they got defeated. And then at that point, my understanding is that Napoleon basically took off, like he just snuck out of there and just left his men basically to perish in horrific circumstances. Like, you know, the whole captain going down with the ship thing? Yeah, that Napoleon didn't do that. Suddenly I'm not so keen on the metric system. Was that Napoleon or was that, I don't know. And then further back than then, there was the kind of conflict between the people in this part of the world. I think it was Belgium and France, and probably other parts of the world too, where you had who did you have, the Celts or the Gauls, or were the Gauls Celts? I think they were the Gauls. And the Roman Empire was encroaching on the Gauls, right? And then there was the leader that Asterix is based on, Vercingetorix, that had a fight with Julius Caesar and lost the fight. And it looks like that he lost the fight. It was a running war actually, but the final battle was lost. And it looks like the final battle was lost because of mercenaries from Germania that were in pay from Rome. So the Roman legions didn't actually completely defeat the Gauls. It was with the help of paid mercenaries from the north. And if you look at the Roman Empire's economy, it was basically go to a new place, defeat them, get them all, send them back to Rome as slaves. And it was literally just a slave economy. The whole thing. I didn't even really realize this. The whole thing about Rome is it was a slave economy. 40%, was it 40%? Roughly half of the people in Rome were slaves. Pretty crazy when you think about it. So like the Romans would rock up at anywhere. Here, for example, right here, and they'd go to your farm and they'd grab you after they defeated whatever local army there was. They'd send you back to Rome and they'd sell you as a slave. That's what the Romans did. So that's pretty crazy. Up until recently, I just thought, oh yeah, the Romans were so great. They were so perfect. They had the roads, the Roman roads, and they were good at war, and they were so good, and they were good at architecture and everything. Honestly, I would have rather have just stayed down here on my farm without any Roman roads, just minding my own business and not being a frickin' slave. Don't you think? And it's very, 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 very interesting that if you look at the borders of the Roman Empire, they never conquered the Germans. There's literally a line across Western Europe, and south of that line is Rome. North of that Rome is the German tribes. And I think eventually those German tribes sacked Rome. There was some kind of centuries-long running history with the Germans. I think at one point a Roman emperor was German, was he not? Rome is a strange and interesting place. There was even an emperor of Rome that was a giant, would you believe? Yes, a giant. Not a tall man, a freaking giant. Go and look it up. The guy was like 8 feet tall. But I can't abide by Rome's slavery. Amount of Roman roads and sewers and all that kind of stuff can make up for that. Bit of food calls. No worries, man. Go and have some French food and some French wine or champagne. Well, no radar reports for ages. It definitely means there's no enemies around. I'm heading back to the coast to land, by the way. And I think that the Roman Empire's model of defeating neighbouring tribes and then enslaving them is a kind of a... I think it was the thing that tribes did, I think, around the world. I think around the world tribes would occasionally get into a fight with their neighbours, defeat a neighbouring tribe, and then incorporate its constituents into the tribe that was victorious. I think more often than not the women were just incorporated into the victorious tribe, and the men were either put to the sword or the spear or the stone axe or whatever was the technology of the tribe at the time. Or, if they weren't killed, the men were put into slavery or sold as slaves by the victorious tribe. Can you imagine, do a thought experiment, can you imagine being one of the men of the vanquished tribe? Alright, so you've just been defeated and you're in your tribal village, and there's your wife and there's your extended family, and there's the females of the tribe. And imagine, if you will, in this thought experiment, what is the attitude towards you now from the females of your tribe now that you've just been vanquished? I rather think that they would be less than complimentary. Do much, did it? Rather finding it hard to see the aerodromes. I know they're out there, but where? Just say you occupied a high-ranking position in your tribe. Just say you were the chief. You're a warrior chief of your tribe. You're a young warrior chief. You're 35 years old. You're the chief of your tribe. And then your tribe gets vanquished in combat with a neighbouring tribe. You're in the process of being enslaved or put to the sword. Your women are being incorporated into the new tribe. What would be the attitude of the women of your former tribe towards you, even though you're a high-ranking member of your tribe? I rather think that they would be contemptuous and ready to turn their back on you Kind of reminds me of the Western world in the current year, don't you think? Now, just to find an aerodrome. That's like a, believe it or not, that's a thing out of like, what would you call it, pickup artistry or something? No, not pickup artistry, like dating, the body of knowledge to do with dating. They say that women get over relationships quickly, like at the drop of a hat, so to speak. Whereas men linger, they take a lot longer to get over the breakup of a relationship. Maybe they don't get over it at all, or maybe it takes years or decades. Whereas women can get over relationships much quicker. They say psychologically that's something to do with tribal warfare, that quite often women would be incorporated into the new tribe. The vanquished men, they were lucky to be alive, and if they were alive, they were shipped off as a slave. Now where's that damn aerodrome? I don't see any golf course. Did they have golf courses in the 1940s? Maybe not in Normandy. Maybe I'll just land on the beach. What was that movie with the ticking clock and the Stuka that glided for about 10 miles? I'll land on this beach, stuff it. What kind of landing this is going to be. Airspeed 150. I'm too high and too close to the landing area. You can't really maneuver this plane very well though, because it's kind of slippery. Stalls easy. Whoa, that's a cliff. Do I want to land here? I'll land further on. There are dots in the distance, but they're barrage balloons, not enemy fighters. Right, can I land here? No. Will I land here? Yes. Stalls at 110. Perfect landing. Ailerons are still functional. Pull up and get some food. To that red tractor there. Must be a Massey Ferguson. Here we go. Up. There we go. There's a bicycle there too. Nice touch. can drive into town, get some directions. Pardon, s'il vous plaît, fish and chips. Got a truck there. Oh, Nelly. Well, that was pretty good fun, I guess, in a boring kind of a way. Pretty decent inclusion of the bicycle there. This map has matured pretty well. Like it used to be terrible. It was so clunky and that the frame rate was terrible and stuff. I mean, have a look at it now. It's pretty good. I think the lighting's good. The terrain is pretty good. Sea is pretty good. There's a truck. Probably open the canopy so I can see where I'm going. Is this dead end street? Oh no. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Alright guys, so that concludes this particular stream. Sorry there was no combat. I'm going to start up an IL-2 stream in a bit. I'm just going to grab a cup of tea and then I'll be back for an IL-2 stream, so maybe in about 10-15 minutes. Thanks you guys in the chat, appreciate you. And like, share, subscribe, support on Patreon, check out my merch on Amazon and Teespring. Hopefully see you guys in the next stream. Cheers. Bye-bye.